So, all right, we start the Daily Mail, and the Royal Mail may only deliver letters 3 days a week.
I mean, it's unbelievable. When I was at boarding school and you had to write the ritual Sunday letter, we posted it on a Sunday evening. It arrived at our parents' homes on Monday morning.
Amazing.
That was with steam trains and manual sorting. And before postcodes, when, you know, you had to decipher all the writing, everything like that. And it was one of the most efficient public services. And now, with mechanisation, with fast travel, with technology, with all the rest of it, it just can't produce. Well, and I mean, I think it's time to say quite simply, well, you know, if they can't run the Royal Mail, they must go. And, you know, we must open it up.
Give it to someone else who can. What do you think about this, Graham? Because there is the thought that your generation, the millennials, basically say, look, we don't need letters to arrive quickly. We just want to be sure they get there.
It's definitely a generational thing. So my generation, I can see the value of it, you know. But my kids' generation, you know, the generation that watches YouTube and that, you know, sends Snapchats and that sort of thing. If I try to explain to my children why they should care about the issue of the Royal, they just wouldn't get it at all, kind of thing. You know, they'd send an email to someone for to be happy birthday. That would get there the second they sent it, and that sort of thing.
I was watching some documentary where some people found a camera that had some footage in, a film in, and they had to go and get it, you know, developed. It's old-fashioned celluloid, right? And they go, and the guy says, "We got, you know, it's the 1 hour service here." And they said, well, what's the fast? How long is the fast service? Because for them, 1 hour is an absolute age to develop.
Funny watching my kids watch, like, when adverts come up, they're just like, well, what do we do about this? I was like, well, you sit there for 4 minutes and engage in consumer society, but they don't.
Well, look, the government has said it's not going to happen, but obviously Royal Mail are trying. They're thinking, they've already stopped the second post in lots of areas. They could stop Saturdays. They could go to 3 days a week. And no connection between Royal Mail anymore with the post office counters, but they are part of the same family. And of course, post office counters is having an absolute nightmare now, with everyone finding out what happened with the Horizon scandal. And the latest is that we have in this inquiry is a post office investigator who gives evidence. And his name is Raymond Grant. He was involved in the wrongful prosecution of William Quam, who's now dead. And this guy, I'll actually show you what he said. He actually turns up and he says he still thinks he's guilty. Have a look.
The question I in fact asked was, do you think, you remain of the view that he's guilty of the crime?
Yes, I do.
I mean, you know, how can he say that he's been cleared in the High Court, Anne? What's going on?
Well, he did acknowledge in the previous comment that the guy was innocent because he'd been cleared by the courts. But he's giving evidence to an inquiry. He'll be on oath, and he has been asked point blank, do you still think he's guilty? Now, he could say, I'm not going to answer that question. But I do not see what choice he had if he really thinks
despite the verdict of the High Court of Judiciary in Scotland, and he then says, yes, I do again.
Yeah, but you know, the point is, he is saying, because he's been asked. That's the crucial thing, Jeremy. He hasn't volunteered this. He's been asked. But do you personally still think he's guilty?
Well, he shouldn't.
And he's got to answer the question.
Oh, come on.
Jeremy, what do you want him to say?
There's no. It almost didn't matter the way he answered it because there's no credibility anyway. Once you've removed the credibility of the court process, it kind of doesn't matter if you think they did it or not. If you establish that the court got it wrong, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks, really.
Well, the court, the second time he was cleared at the High Court, the reason this is important is that the man was convicted of embezzlement. He died 2 years later, so he never saw his conviction quashed as it was then in the Court of Criminal Appeal in Edinburgh. And I think this guy doesn't have the right to say he thinks he's guilty.
What was he supposed to say? I mean, you could say the chair didn't have the right to ask it, and that's different. That's different.
Yeah.
But what is he supposed to say on oath before a public inquiry when he's asked that question point blank?
Well,
he has to answer
truthfully. He's supposed to protect the widow. The widow now has to find...
I think what you should be attacking is the chairman asking that question, not the way that the guy answered.
All right. Sky News.